Hello and welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, our Batman book club. Bedazzling my Batgirl suit, I'm your host, Bat Obsessive Chris. And starting a band with his sonic scream, my co-host, TJ.
Hello, everyone. I am your Chris proclaimed Batman acolyte. And Chris, it's going to be real awkward if I bring my bedazzled suit. I
don't know. I don't think you could ever have too many bedazzled bat suits. But I hear a sound and it is riding up on her motorcycle. It's comics contributor at Book Riot, Shiri Sondheimer.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing
Good.
great.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk about my favorite Batfam bibliophile owner of great thighs.
Yes. Yes. TJ, are you aware that while Dick Grayson may have the infamous ass, Jason Todd has the thighs?
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Oh,
yes.
You will become intimately familiar with them by the time we're done.
Yes, you will. And if you Google Jason Todd reading, he's always sitting reading to show the thighs off to great advantage.
Oh my God. Well, I will say I have no complaints about him after reading this book. So.
Yes, I know. He has a pretty good ass too. I mean, he's not Nightwing, but it's not bad. I'm just saying.
It's definitely not bad.
He's like Dick 2.0 in many ways.
Oh, he would cry.
But he's like bad Dick. I love it. I'm here for a good bad boy.
He is like bad Dick is a sentence that only works in this context. It's a compliment.
Truth.
So Jason is your favorite Bat family member?
Jason has a bad rap that's totally unfair.
I think it's totally unfair too. We haven't actually talked about Jason much yet on the show because of what we read. He just hasn't really been in. But so our listeners might not know it. He's my second favorite. I like Tim
I don't even
best.
know if I knew that.
Yeah, I like Tim best, and Jason is really close second.
Huh. See, I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, I've read a lot of Batman now. Well, you know, for the average person.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, who's my favorite? I have to have a favorite. And depending on which book we've just read, I'm like, you know what? I think they're my new favorites. So.
That's true. I hadn't realized you do that every single time, don't you?
I said it about Tim. I said it about Damian. And then I said it about Barbara just recently. So
You did.
I mean, Dick has a very special place in my heart because he's Dick, but
yes,
I like the ones that are a little fucked up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's so much fucked up to choose from in the Bat family.
It's true. I have a little bit of a soft spot for Damian too, just because I enjoy gremlin children.
Yes, I do too. I mean, I love all the Robins, so no complaints here.
And I do enjoy his penchant for animals.
Yes.
Oh, like a bat cow.
Bat cow.
A good bat cow.
We are trying to spread Bat Cow is also a queer member of the family agenda now.
I like it.
It's based on nothing except that our fans were teasing us about saying everyone was queer, and we're like, Bat Cow is pan. So there.
Oh. I have to tell you, one of my fellow Book Riot contributors and I have an agenda, which is
I'm excited.
Which is Jason, Roy, and John Constantine sleeping their way through the entire DC universe because they are definitely the slut trio.
That's amazing.
And that's not slut shaming. No. we love them for it.
Yeah, the only
know that John Constantine had a thing with King Shark. We're like, that's it.
Yes.
We're gonna write the adventures.
Yes.
For a second, I thought you were gonna say they were.
Yeah, and John just sleeping their way through the entire universe.
I thought you were going to say they were a throuple for a hot second.
That too.
I'm here for it. It could be one of the stops on the sleeping the way through.
Yeah, they could be both. Throuple that just brings everyone into their fun.
Jason and Roy have definitely.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
I've heard the stories from Chris.
Yeah, he calls him his boyfriend. Are we supposed to pretend that's a joke? Haha,
no
funny.
Way. No way.
Bros, is it gay to call your best friend your boyfriend? Yes, the only slut shaming we do on this show is but tell people to be sluttier. Do more.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like my friend and I texted each other, now kiss, when Sam and Bucky were rolling down the hill together.
Yes!
Episode.
Screams about it, which I was watching just before this, so I'm really amped up. Well, knowing this now, I think you're going to love the game I have prepared for today.
Ooh.
So, as our listeners know, we abandoned trivia a long time ago in favor of whatever the hell Chris comes up with this week. Today, we are going to play Fuck, Marry, Kill.
I know this one.
In honor of, Jason Todd was killed by committee. Now I'm going to force you to do that to other characters in the Bat family.
Ooh. I'm prepared.
So in honor of that, and also considering all the people in this will be the adult versions of them, to be clear, listeners, don't get mad.
How do we win this?
Probably at the end when I just decide to award points.
When you decide to pick a winner.
When I decide TJ's lost again.
Okay. I didn't know if we were like meeting,
no,
like trying to pick what you picked.
I thought about this. It was like, is there a way to actually gamify this? No, we're just doing it.
All right. Sounds cool.
So our first trio for Fuck, Marry, Kill is Red Hood, Nightwing, Midnighter.
Oh.
Kill Midnighter. What?
You said that so fast.
I mean, my other options are Nightwing and Red Hood, right?
No, but you didn't even hesitate.
I mean, I knew I wanted both of them.
Okay.
So Midnighter's a little too rough for me.
That is true. He does like it rough.
In more than one way.
What's your other two answers?
I would marry Dick Grayson,
Mm-hmm.
and I would fuck Jason Todd, because Dick is Dick and he seems like the guy you would bring home to your parents, and Jason Todd just seems like he'd be a fun lay.
I mean, Shiri, what do you think?
Well, I'm trying to think, because I mean, are we pretending Midnighter might like the ladies in certain circumstances?
I guess in this situation, yes, everybody is going to be like go all directions in this game.
Because I mean, clearly he's a decent husband, because
right?
Apollo's married him several times.
Yes, exactly. Multiple universes.
Yeah. And I mean, DC keeps breaking them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DC, looking at you.
Let's see.
It's hard.
It is hard. I think that I would fuck Nightwing, marry Red Hood. I think I'd have to kill Midnighter. That's a tough one, though.
Poor
I don't want to kill him.
I think
I want to kill him.
Your Red Hood bias is showing.
No, you know what? Dick's too good.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
He's too good. He's too well behaved.
TJ, you don't know this yet, though. I think Jason Todd's a pretty decent boyfriend, actually. And Nightwing has had some issues.
Mm-hmm.
See, again,
Agreed.
I haven't read much Dick Grayson yet.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I don't want to be saved. I want to be.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fair. He is such a white knight.
That's a fair point. Like, I want that ass every night, though. So I would marry that ass.
Have you read the Grayson series yet?
No,
I haven't, but I've seen the panels of Midnighter knowing his ass anywhere.
Right? And have you seen the panels of his butt cheeks getting named by the girls in his gymnastics class?
I didn't know that's something I wanted.
We'll have to bump Grayson up our list to read soon.
You know what? It's a really fun series.
It is.
Too.
It is so fun. I love it.
But yeah, there's like a whole page of the girls in his gymnastics class naming his butt cheeks.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I am sad for Midnighter, but I just assume Apollo will go down to hell and grab him like he did for Apollo. I mean, so it'll be all right.
We all know death is not permanent in any of these scenarios.
Right, so. Not even a little bit. Okay, so fuck, marry, kill some other characters that appear in this comic. Oliver Queen, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent.
Marry Bruce because he's rich. That's like my main reason.
I was was getting ready to say why. And okay, there you go.
Yeah, and
Is he richer than Oliver Queen? Do we know? Actually, don't know.
Oh, I have no idea.
Don't either.
But to finish off my answer, I would kill Oliver because I ain't into that facial hair. I apologize. And I've also
For the
seen
beard.
Arrow. He was my least favorite Arrow character. And then that would leave me to fuck Superman. And like, you know, like maybe it's a little shallow, but he has that indestructible skin, and like I want to know what that's like.
It's fair. Would it be the Superman from Kingdom Come, like Daddy Superman? Is that the one?
See, I'm not into daddies, but he was pretty daddylicious in Kingdom Come.
He really was.
So I don't know, maybe like CW Superman. I'm kind
of okay, yes.
We like him.
We like him.
The new one?
Yes.
He's cute.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Him.
He's our Teen Wolf guy. We love him.
Yes.
What about you, Shiri?
Okay, well, I would also kill Oliver Queen, but more because he's an ass.
He is an ass. It's true.
Like, he tries real hard, but he's like, he's one of those, like he's from Portland. He's like,
oh my gosh, you're right.
It's like the performative social activism kind of thing.
You're right.
And, ew.
I'm in actual pain thinking about it that way.
Well, and apparently he's not trustworthy because in this book, he has that scene where he's like, I'm sorry. And I still don't know what he's sorry for.
Yeah. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't know what Dinah, I don't ever know what Dinah has seen in him. She could do so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like Barbara.
Like Barbara.
Like Barbara. Seriously. I always think of the Brave and the Bold though, when it's her and Catwoman and Huntress.
Yes.
Singing the saucy song to Amnesiac Bruce Wayne. And again, like, I guess I would have to marry Bruce because Clark is too nice. Fuck Clark though.
And he's rich.
Right.
The barn.
You'd have to live on a farm with Clark, you know? Is that what we want?
Like fucking Clark Kent in a barn doesn't sound too bad once or twice, but
no.
Not
that sounds fine.
Not the life for me. Like,
no.
I feel like Bruce and I could probably come to some kind of arrangement.
Right. Yes. I love it. Well, this one may make it a bit harder. Fuck, marry, kill Gotham City Sirens.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I know, right?
I would surprisingly kill Harley Quinn because I feel like I can't trust her. Like,
I mean, that is real fair.
She's always kind of going back and forth. Like, I would love to lay her, but like when my other options are Catwoman and Poison Ivy, it's a little tough. So kill Harley Quinn. I would want to.
It's hard, right?
So hard. I think I would fuck Poison Ivy because she hates humans. So like she might kill me if we get married. She might poison me. I don't know.
That's true.
So that leaves marrying Catwoman. And you know, I don't know how good her track record is with marriages. I think she seems like the safest bet.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I would for sure fuck Harley in a lot of interesting, weird places.
Yes!
That would be fun. And I think I would marry Catwoman.
Yeah.
And I guess I would have to kill Poison. I don't know. Poison Ivy's never been as interesting to me as the other two. I find Catwoman intriguing.
Yeah.
And I think being long-term married to her would be really, like, that would never be boring.
No.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, Poison Ivy can come back from a seed or something, right?
Yeah.
She'll be fine. Oh, yeah, she'll be fine.
Harley would be too much drama after a while, but she would be real fun for like short-term.
Yeah.
Weakness.
Oh, yeah. Like Vegas wedding with Harley, and then you get divorced after the weekend.
Yeah, just like have sex in all kinds of like weird places.
Yes.
Like you wanna go fuck wherever. Oh yeah, totally.
I love it so much.
You want to try? Oh yeah, totally. But I think like long term, I think Catwoman would be the most interesting to be married to.
I agree.
All right. Our final one is the wildest one.
Oh no.
Fuck, marry, kill. Val Kilmer Batman, Christian Bale Batman, our Pat's Batman. And we're basing all of this on a trailer for our Pats, but I think we can still do it.
I'm gonna have to kill Christian Bale Batman. I just watched The Dark Knight Rises, and as Anthony Oliveira pointed out, this Batman just doesn't fuck.
He does not fuck.
I mean,
no.
he does literally fuck in the movie once, and it's kind of weird. But I would have to kill him, and then fuck our Pats.
You're marrying Val Kilmer?
Sorry. I would have to kill our Pats because again, we don't know much about him, but he seems like he'd be a pretty cool lay. But I don't know. He's a little too angsty, I guess. But Val Kilmer has like that persona where I could bring him home to my mom, but he's also extremely sexy and rich.
Is it the turtlenecks? Be honest.
It is the turtlenecks a little bit. And I know they're all rich, but
all right, Shuri.
Can I kill them all and fuck Kevin Conroy's voice?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, you can.
Okay, that's
you
my
officially won the game by breaking it.
Yes.
You found the secret menu at Starbucks.
I should have been creative. Ooh, what about George Clooney though?
I know. I was also going to say Batfleck. There was a lot of Batmans to choose from.
That's fair.
Yes. Lego, you know, lots of good ones.
Lego Batman was the best Batman. Honestly.
Lego Batman is the best Batman.
It was so good.
So we have a very special Bat Cute for you all today because it's not actually us that had it. It's our guest. Shuri, you met someone related to this book.
I did. I met Judd Winick. We were on a panel together at Emerald City Comic Con a couple of years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And he, first of all, he is a total sweetheart. He is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Hey.
And I'm actually, it's hard to tell from this, but in person, I'm actually really shy. And my smartassery is usually contained to like recording and writing because nobody can see me. If people can see me, I close up into my little shell. But I don't know. I was brave that day. And so we were sitting next to each other at a panel and he was late. What happened was they like stacked his panels so they overlapped.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on like 85 panels that day. And so he was late and then he got up to leave early. And I looked at him. I said, "Oh, what? You're too good for the rest of us. You got here late and you're leaving early." And I was kidding. And it like flew out of my mouth because I had gotten really comfortable on this panel. Like I had never met him before. Like we hadn't even gotten to chat before the panel because he was late. And then I was like, I cannot fucking believe I just said that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. And he kind of looked at me and kind of laughed. And then he had to leave. So he left. And then like a few months later, someone's like, "Hey, you want to interview Judd Winick for this thing?" And I was like, "Yes."
Oh no.
So we were setting up the interview and the interview started and he's like, "I know your name from somewhere. Where do I know your name from?" I was like, "We were on a panel at Emerald City Comic Con together. I was the one who made fun of you for coming in late and leaving early." And he busts out laughing. He was like, "That was so fucking funny. I wanted to tell you that, but they had stacked my panels and I was running late." I was like, "Oh, sweet baby Jesus, thank God."
Hey, that is the best possible way for that to have ended.
Yeah,
he's like, "I remember you because I thought that was really funny and I wanted to tell you that I thought it was funny, but I didn't want to interrupt the panel and then I didn't see you again."
Oh no. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that's
Like,
wholesome.
I never do shit like that. And for whatever reason, it flew out of my mouth before I could stop it. And I was
love that.
Really? Really? This is how you decide you're finally going to do that? And then we had a really great interview, and he's
That's
a really
really
nice
cute.
guy, and we've chatted a few times since then. So
It's amazing.
That is really cute. I love that so much.
he is the nicest guy.
That makes me so
we've
happy.
talked about he and I have discussed my love of Jason Todd a few times. So.
Oh, and he knows about the bisexual agenda of Jason Todd.
Yes, he does. We've told him. He's like, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it's not canon at this point. Like it is, right? Like basically.
Listen, it's his fault that Jason slept with Talia al Ghul, so
yeah, I'm reading that one right now.
It's barely relevant to what we read today, but probably will come up.
And in the same book is where he's like talking to a dude, and he's like, your accent comes out when you're mad. It's kind of cute. And I'm like,
yes,
that's great. Why do you have to sleep with her?
There's a guy who does these great Bat Family. He does a lot of superheroes, but he mostly does Bat Family TikToks.
Are you talking about Panda Red?
Yes. And he's
been on our show.
He has. Oh my god.
Yes.
He's the greatest. And he did one
where he is.
Damien at Is He Wonderful in
He is so sweet.
He was amazing.
Honestly, one of the kindest people.
Okay, so my friend who we're planning the Throuple takeover of the DC Sex Universe, I send her his TikToks all the time because she's not on TikTok, but I love them.
I send TJ the TikToks all the time too.
I was gonna say.
So the one where Damien and Jason are having the argument.
Yes.
And Jason's like, yeah, well, I slept with your mom. I was like, oh my god, Jess.
Yeah, he just did a set as we're recording this of Jason Todd crawling out of the grave. I was dying. Yes! I was like, how did he know?
So and then he's like, there's my neighbors. There's my neighbors.
Exactly. Oh, that's I love him so much.
Well, on that note, let's get into the meat of Batman Under the Red Hood by Judd Winick.
Yeah, so Shiri, I feel like I already know the answer, but why this book?
Why this book? This book is... There's a lot of emotion in this book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jason it's so interesting to me that I think the most interesting thing to me about this book is that Jason is not angry that he died.
Yes.
He is angry that the Joker is still alive.
I am always angry the Joker is still alive, so everyone I relate.
Yeah. Right? I mean, the Joker really... Ugh. Every time there's something new with the Joker, I'm like, really, must we? His anger at Bruce is that Bruce didn't avenge him.
Yes.
And that's interesting for two reasons. Is why would he expect Bruce to avenge him? Because Bruce doesn't kill people.
Right.
But so like, why is that his expectation?
Right.
But so yes, it's interesting to me that that's his expectation, but also why is that what he's angry about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, it read like, at least they were trying to imply within this one book that like as a kid, he always deep down kind of wanted to go that far. And like, so coming back and being messed up from resurrection and all that, he's like, he was hoping to be like almost vindicated of like wanting Bruce to go that far finally. Yeah. I don't know, or like that his love of, or the loss of losing him would be enough to finally push him over the edge. But yeah, it's like why was that important?
Yeah, that reveal, I mean, as you're saying, this book is an emotional journey. Like, it is hilarious often.
Oh
It
yes.
is like, it made me cry. That whole ending, I was just like in tears pretty much the entire time. And when it finally gets to that part where he's like, you think that's why I'm mad? You fundamentally don't get me.
Right.
There's such an interesting, because it's like he does not get Bruce at all, but Bruce also does not get him. They are, yeah. It's, oh, I love it.
So the movie version, so it was really interesting because when I have one of the times I talked to Judd about this,
Mhm.
he never wanted it to be explained how
Interesting.
Jason came back.
Interesting.
His whole idea was that Jason was just back,
Mhm.
and no one knew how and no one knew why. He just
Right.
showed up again. And so the whole Lazarus Pit thing
Yeah.
was a later addition.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. It feels logical that would be how.
It does. And it's also interesting that, I mean, Jason is not permanently, fundamentally changed by the Lazarus Pit, really.
No.
So very few people are not.
Right.
So it's interesting that Jason is one of the people who is not, because that points to him having this incredibly strong will, which is very much like Bruce's, and yet somehow they still don't understand each other.
Right. Yeah.
I love the movie adaptation, maybe a little bit more than the book, even though I love this book too. And I'm reading The Lost Days of Red Hood right now, which is kind of like a prequel to this one.
That one's a little strange.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but
a little weird.
He comes back not just because of the Lazarus Pit, but also
Superboy Prime.
I've heard about Infinite Crisis before.
When Superboy Prime punched the universe and brought Jason Todd back.
Yeah.
It's my favorite detail because it's so profoundly stupid that I love saying it every time.
It's weird. And like Jason's kind of messed up and they use the Lazarus Pit to quote fix him.
Yeah.
And then he's angry.
Right.
And then he's like a gangster for a while.
It's weird.
But I mean, I think also you have to look back at how he died. Like, he got voted off the island.
So sad to me. I have never, like, I was not alive when that happened, but I have not recovered from it, even just knowing about it.
I think that's really unfair, because who was gonna live up to Dick Grayson?
Yeah.
Either in the books or with fans.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That no one. You know, Tim had all this time to work his way in because of Jason.
Yes.
And Jason's original origin story is essentially the same as Dick's, except without the circus. Like, it's boring.
Yeah.
He didn't get jacking the tires off the Batmobile until way later.
Which is great.
That's like the best part.
Fantastic.
Such a good beginning. Oh.
I'm not usually a huge fan of retconning stuff like that, but Jason's retcon origin story is way better than his original one.
Yeah.
So DC didn't really give him a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we read the Cape Crusade by Glenn Weldon, and I think in that one it talks about how like DC wanted a straight up Dick Grayson copy.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of unfair to the character, because like of course the fans are going to be like, well, that's not Dick.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like Dick died.
Right.
Dick just was like, fuck you, Bruce, and went and did his own thing with his mullet and his spangly belt.
Glorious mullet.
Right. You know, with his hot girlfriend, his hot alien girlfriend.
I was gonna say, which one?
The alien one. The one that counts. Sorry, Barbara.
Right. And you know, so maybe if Dick had died, or
I feel like
Dick
that would have
died
made people
6 times.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think that would have made people madder, probably. I don't know.
So, I mean, I think Jason started at a disadvantage.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyone who followed Dick was going to be at a disadvantage. And so they didn't give him a good origin story.
Yeah.
And so when they brought him back, they had to do something crazy.
Yes, and they sure did.
Or else he was gonna fail again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I love the direction they took him. Like it's so interesting to me that people still don't like Red Hood. I'm like, but why? He's so interesting. He's like a great counterpoint. And he's one of the best like anti-heroes I think I've ever read, because I was reading this book and I was like, okay, look, would I do it without the decapitating? Yes, but I kind of like what he's accomplishing.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like, what does he do? He scares child predators and kills Nazis. Like, I'm having a hard time not being on his side here.
Right? Like, Captain America kills Nazis too. Why do we have a problem with this?
Right. I mean, does he do it a little bit more violently than necessary? Probably.
Sure. But, we were talking about why is the Joker still alive, right?
Yes. Why indeed?
Why is the Joker still alive?
Yeah.
Why won't Batman kill him? How many people does this dude have to kill?
When he has that line where he's like, there are graveyards full of his victims, I was like, And it's interesting too, because that whole conversation, Batman's not like, because it's right or my code. He literally is, because I don't want to become the other side of that.
Right.
Which, I feel like is very telling about how close to the edge Batman is at all times.
Right. But like, that's also something interesting about Bruce, right? Because Jason doesn't wander around just killing everyone he sees.
Right, which he says in this. He's like, you can just kill one. You don't have to
you don't have to kill everyone. Like,
you don't have to become a serial killer.
Like, he's not gonna shoot Catwoman. Catwoman doesn't murder people.
I know. I love what he's like. It's not like we're gonna kill the Riddler.
Right. It's the same debate you get into with the Punisher.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, although the Punisher, I would argue, is more indiscriminate than Red Hood.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So Jason picks his targets.
Mm-hmm.
He does not. I mean, I haven't read a lot of the more recent stuff. Admittedly,
he's gotten less violent. Actually,
he's been less violent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, Jason picks his targets. He doesn't, indiscriminately spray bullets into a crowd.
He would never, because it might hurt a kid.
Right.
Or
a dog.
Yeah, or a dog. Batman has his code, which is the like no kill anyone ever. Jason's code is make sure kids are protected and punch Nazis.
Right.
What we're saying reminds me of early days CW Arrow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But now everyone's like, oh, he's a hero. He's great. So why do people still hate Jason Todd?
I feel like,
and I never liked that Oliver Queen. I never liked that interpretation of Oliver Queen.
Because it wasn't genuine to the character.
Because he had a stick up his ass.
Same.
Yeah, he did. He really, really did.
Oliver Queen is funny. He smiles. He tells jokes.
Yes. That Oliver Queen was a knockoff Batman. That's not a good one. Sure. Not a good knockoff Batman, but a knockoff Batman. I think the thing with Bruce that is really interesting, you have to go with me on a journey here. I think that Bruce that people call him obsessive all the time. And most of the time they don't really explore that in an actual psychological way. It's more of the like hand wavy psychology that Batman uses a lot. But I do actually think there is a degree to which he has actual OCD. Let me explain.
No, I'm following you.
Okay. People with OCD are very unlikely to commit actual harm, right? Very unlikely, but deeply fear doing it. That is like a big thing. They're less likely than the general population to do crime, to hurt anyone, because they're so scared of it. But a lot of people with OCD have like thoughts about hurting people, intrusive thoughts, and they take that to be a sign and get scared of it and try to protect themselves from doing harm. And that's where the rituals come from. Mm-hmm. I think Bruce Wayne is OCD. I think he is saying, if I did one thing, I would do all the things, which is a very OCD thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. This is why we keep you around.
With OCD, as someone who has been diagnosed with OCD, I would 100% agree with that.
I also have OCD, so welcome to the party. It's so fun in here.
So fun.
I'm the minority.
Yeah, like if he broke his ritual, he wouldn't be able to stop himself.
Right. That vow, right? That I have to have this line. Somebody once described OCD to me as like there's a cliff and you're scared of the cliff. So you build a fence and then you just keep moving the fence further and further away just to be safe until you're so far from the cliff that it's like not even in sight anymore. That's a Bruce's don't kill thing. Right. Like I have to keep it so rigid that I can't even look into the abyss.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And this is Chris is a therapist in training and a psych professor.
No, you're right.
That's why I keep you around. You're our psychologist.
Which is interesting because that would suggest that in terms of mental health, Jason is actually healthier than
Bruce. I agree.
Because Jason trusts himself.
He does. He knows his limits. And I feel like there are a couple of moments in this that show that, right? Like he has no desire to actually hurt Bruce. He'll fight him, but he's not going to hurt him. He keeps him from dying. One of my favorite scenes in this entire book is when the low-level goons are arguing and they're like, we're fine as long as no kids get hurt. And he's like, oh shit, we hurt a kid got hurt. We are dead. Like this is it. Like,
yep.
Yeah, he has that rule. That was the moment I literally sent a somewhat panicked voice message to my partner, and I was like, I don't think I'm a violent person, but I'm sitting here reading this, and I'm like, he did a good job.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like if you're getting results from doing things that are seemingly unethical, like does that make them unethical?
I don't know.
And then let's also add to that the fact psychologically, the fact that Jason, someone put it to me this way, and I was like, that's true. Jason has always been on the respect for women train.
Yes.
Whereas
his favorite superhero is Wonder Woman.
Bruce and Dick have always had a much harder time with that.
Yes.
Dick is good to women. But he has his white knight issue.
He's a little bit of a nice guy sometimes. Sorry, Dick. I like, a nice guy with the like quote marks. Not all the time, not terribly, but sometimes.
Dick wants to save women.
Yes.
Who don't need to be saved.
Right.
Bruce is a dick. Bruce treats women like crap.
He uses women as a cover most of the time.
Even Selena.
Yeah.
Whereas Jason can date Artemis without having a problem.
Yes. He is. It's true. He has such great relationships. This is what we were saying back at our Fuck, Marry, Kill. Like of the Bat family, his track record with relationships is probably the best.
It's true.
I mean, Damien's young yet. We don't know. But of the ones who are dating age.
Oh my God. What was I watching where it was one of the animated ones. Oh, it was the last one before they like re-flash pointed the universe again. And they had Damien with Raven.
No.
And I was like, what the shit is this?
I'm glad they flash pointed it then. That's awful.
Yeah. Oh, it was the one with King Shark and John Constantine.
Yes.
Oh, well, that made up for it. Almost.
It did. That was amazing. Oh, my ex. You dated Harley? No, not Harley.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Dick Grayson, what did you guys think of his interactions with Bruce in this book?
When he and Bruce were like not getting along.
Yeah. They banter. It's actually one of my favorite bits. So I mentioned earlier, this book is so funny. And all of the funniest parts of the book are Bruce being petty as fuck.
Yeah.
So Dick shows up and he's like, hey, and he's trying to be so nice and chat with him about the weather. And Bruce just like shuts him down. And he's like, okay, so we can't even have a conversation. And Bruce is like, why don't you go back to your home in Bloodhaven where you live?
Yeah, it read to me like a son checking up on his alcoholic father or something like that.
1,000%.
Yeah, like in like a sweet way.
Yeah.
Well, and Bruce hasn't had a sidekick in a while.
Right.
In this one.
Well,
like
is not it. I'm all confused because I also read the like prequel weird. Tim is around, right?
Yeah, time-wise, I think this one came out right around the time Morrison was introducing Damien. So like you would think Tim would be around.
Tim, he is around. I mean, he's around in like
he's around.
He's just not really in the main story. It makes sense that he would be trying to keep him away, but it does seem weird that he wouldn't mention him, except for what he talks about it when he's like when he fought Clayface. Okay, I'm gonna need somebody to like diagram what happened in that. So he fought Jason, who then left, and Clayface took over, and Clayface tried to kill Tim.
So Jeff Loeb wrote the Hush, and like Clayface pretended to be Jason.
Yes.
And then
but in this one, Jason says that Jason was there part of the time.
Yeah.
Yes. So there was like at the very end of the volume I was reading,
I have it. It's in my hand right now. Okay. So when that one in Hush, it's Jason. But in the end of this one, it's Clayface.
But he says in Under the Red Hood that it was him part of the time. And
it was Clayface mimicking the role, but why make Jason older? A corpse doesn't age. So the implication is that at some point Clayface has seen Jason.
Yes, that's the part. So yeah, it's not in that volume or in that part because I read that part too. But earlier on, he says, you fought Clayface, but you knew part of the time it was really me, right? And I was like, which part? When did that happen? That's so confusing.
There's one part where he like runs and hops over a gravestone, and supposedly right after that is when they bait and switch, and then it's Clayface.
Nobody made that clear.
I forget where I read. It must have been the Lost Date.
Okay, so he did not try to kill Tim in this.
Hold on, I have that one too.
Brad.
It was very confusing. They did a lot to retcon this in, and I don't know why they were determined to make that Jason.
I don't know.
And I have to say that Judd is such a good writer. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably something that was instructed needed to be done.
Yeah, that's probably fair to make it make sense. And yet it kind of missed the mark.
Sometimes people are told to do things, as we all know.
Yes.
That normally left to their own devices, they would not do.
I just really I try to understand that part. I'm that gif from Always Sunny in Philadelphia of the conspiracy board with the like things strapped together.
I don't remember it. I think I kind of looked at it and was like, oh, fuck it.
Wait, I want to say, so in the Under the Red Hood volume I had, there was an annual at the end.
Yeah.
I want to say it was in the annual.
Okay.
Well, let's go back to Judd's writing because I love his dialogue in this.
Yes.
It's just so fun.
He actually writes a lot of stuff for kids now.
Oh.
And the dialogue is also fantastic.
Yeah. It's so quippy all the way through. So this is the first time we're reading Black Mask as a villain too. He is so funny. I laughed my head off at every scene.
I kind of think for Birds of Prey they may have gone back to this a little bit.
Yes. So that's what people were weirdly mad about his portrayal in Birds of Prey, and they were like, he's not on character. And I read this and I was like,
he is.
This is exactly what Ewan McGregor was doing. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, he was just fun. Like, he might be one of my favorite villains we've read so far.
I agree 100%. I was dying laughing. He's so funny the whole time. The only other part or person I could imagine playing this character other than Ewan McGregor, who did a great job, is BBC Sherlock's Moriarty.
Ooh.
Yeah, Andrew something.
Yeah, I kept hearing some of these lines in his voice, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
My favorite petty Batman line was when he says, "I needed someone I could trust, but I had to settle for you."
Zatanna, how dare you disrespect Zatanna, sir?
I kind of love petty Batman. Like, I
do too.
Batman should be petty. Batman is,
right?
Bruce Wayne is a bitch.
He is a bitch, and I love it. He I wrote an entire paper in my master's program about him being petty and how funny I think it is. And we've missed that for a while. We've gone back and read some of the like classic ones where he's like stoic, and I'm like, this is not fun. This is what I want. I want him to be petty. I want him to be a bitch to everyone he talks to.
I mean, there's a reason people still watch the series from '66, and that's because Adam West was kind of a bitch. And
absolutely, it's what we want.
He was a rich child with trauma raised by his butler, but he had all this. I mean, you have to be a certain kind of person to like decide, I have all this money, I'm gonna go beat up criminals, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
The psychology of that, I mean,
can either of you explain to me who Onyx is and why she vanished out of the story?
I have no idea.
No clue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank goodness.
I was
why is Superman here for 2 pages? No idea.
Because I wanted it. I willed it into existence.
To threaten Bruce with theater tickets.
We'll come back to that. But Onyx, I have never seen her before, nor heard that name. And I'm not gonna. And then it was like she's the only one he lets run around Gotham with him, and I was like, what?
Right. And then she does nothing. So I was like, why did she even enter the story?
I know, and they try to set it up like she's kind of Bat family, but she certainly isn't, as far as I'm aware. Though I would love for her to be. She seemed interesting.
Yeah, I wanted more of her.
Me too.
I feel like I looked it up at some point, but it did not make enough of an impression for me to remember.
She feels like a character they tried and then abandoned. Looking at you, Harper Row, for instance, it felt like that to me.
Teen Wolf, halfway through a season, someone leaves.
Right.
They just hope that you don't notice.
Yeah, we're never gonna explain where she went. I did cut the scene where she is there, so she's like trying to break up this drug dealer situation, and Jason shows up and she's like ready to go, and she's like, stand still, and he goes, why, you're gonna take my picture? And then just kind of like sits down and is watching, and you just see her deflate and join him. Is one of my favorite moments. He's like, I've got nothing against you, like this is a family matter. It was so good. I love it so much. So we should talk about that random 2 seconds of Oliver Queen, 2 seconds of Superman, and 2 seconds of Zatanna thing that happened.
Yeah, it reminded me of that Pirates of the Caribbean movie where they're like trying to bring back Jack Sparrow and going all around. That's just what it reminded me of.
It cracked me up that, I mean, if he did this now, it'd be even more people, but I was really amused that it was like, I need to talk to all the people I know who've come back from the dead. Luckily, I have a whole list.
The other thing the thing that I did kind of like about it, though, was it kind of reinforced that Batman has no friends.
I know.
Yeah, he's a bitch to all of them.
He's a bitch to all. They kind of tolerate him because he has money and he's useful.
Yeah. I kind of feel, I don't know. I kind of feel that way about him and Oliver for sure. That scene, though, I was dying that entire scene.
Clark tried real hard.
Clark wants to be his friend. Clark is that like sweet person that's trying to include him, and he's just brooding too hard.
Like, look, dude, I know you have a lot of shit in your backstory, so I'm gonna keep trying.
Yeah, he is the guy who's trying to befriend the kid in his class that won't talk to anyone.
Right.
It's like, just sit with me. We can do the project together. You don't have to run off. It's okay.
Right. Like, we share some trauma, sir. Like,
no, I loved
let's build a relationship.
I also, I have my ongoing agenda that if there is a ship for Batman, it is Superman. I maintain.
I've read some of that.
I know, right? It's good. It's good. I definitely got that vibe from Superman only. Batman's just like, I just have to solve this mystery. And Superman's like, okay, but like, you came all the way to see me. You didn't have to stop a crime. You could just call.
Right. The great thing about the Oliver Queen and Bruce scene, though, is that they're both bitches.
Yes, I loved it.
Oliver Queen is a giant bitch.
Yes.
He has always been a giant bitch.
Yes.
At least he owns his bitch, though. Like, Bruce pretends he's not a bitch.
Yeah.
Oliver Queen is like, I own my bitch. I'm a giant bitch, and I will continue to be a giant bitch.
Take
I
a
love
shot every time we say bitch.
That was missing. That's what was missing from Arrow.
I agree. He should have
He
been
had
bitchier.
such a stick up his butt. Like it's funny. I guess that's what Dinah's on him.
Yeah. I just love where he was like all up in airs. He was like, "You don't trust me?" And Bruce Wayne's like, "Have you met you?"
Right?
What? And they just stare at each other for a full panel, and I was like, "Yes."
One of us has 15 illegitimate children running around.
Right.
One of us only has 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of us has 15 illegitimate children, and one of us has 15 legally adopted children. Okay.
There were so many flashbacks in this that I almost felt like, well, I wanted to ask you guys, can I get away with not reading Death in the Family, or is it like an essential
Death
classic?
in the Family is terrible.
Okay. Death in the Family is a hot mess, and it includes so
and
many.
The art is so bad.
The actual death scene is really emotional. Like it got me, but you have to get past Joker being a foreign ambassador.
Oh.
It's real racist.
Mm-hmm.
So I can skip that one.
You can skip that one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a problematic story that ends with like a very emotional ending. That's about it.
I felt like there was enough in this one that I could be like, okay, I got the
100%.
gist.
You got everything that mattered, and we didn't have to see Joker in a turban. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a thing that happened. Oh, yes. So speaking of people that just randomly show up for no reason, Deathstroke is in this.
Yeah, what the hell? I mean, I'm never sad to see Deathstroke. I think
me
he's
either.
Great. Another character who is supposed to be funny.
Right. I know. Arrow, we're looking at you. I have a current agenda to prove that Deathstroke is also bisexual because I don't know, Shiri, if you know about the super straight movement that's happening. I was just explaining this to TJ.
I mean, I've seen stuff about it. I try to ignore those people.
I do too. I'm just mad that they're using the Deathstroke like color scheme. I think it's unintentional.
Why?
I think it's unintentional, but it's literally, I've seen them make masks that literally look like Deathstroke, and I'm like, guys, Deathstroke would not be on your side. Like,
Deathstroke disapproves.
Deathstroke is a bisexual ally. Like, he might work with some questionable people, apparently, I learned in this one, but talking about Captain Nazi, but Deathstroke himself, I don't think would approve, and I just want to die on that hill.
I'm caught up on Titans for better or worse, and at least in that canon, he has a trans son, so like, of course he would be an ally.
I know. Justice for Deathstroke, but also Deathstroke, you got to fire the guy whose name is Nazi. We cannot be doing this.
And also, why are you in this book?
Yeah, I mean, that's just.
I forgot that he was part of a group of villains called the Society. So when he said, "I am part of a society," I thought it was just that Joker line. We live in a society.
Yeah. Again, like, why are they here? I was again, a reason why I like the movie a little bit better is because it kind of trims out some of the fat. Like,
the movie does trim stuff down significantly.
Yeah, this didn't need 13 issues.
That said, I'm kind of a sucker for this level of cameo. Like, when it gets more chaotic and like crossovery than this, it's not fun, but like having people randomly show up like this, I do enjoy. I'm kind of a sucker for it, so I had fun with it.
But you mentioned the hyena person, and speaking of fun,
yes,
that whole scene.
What the hell? I did love how the Black Mask and Deathstroke were like checking out the hyena, and then
they're like, no matter the gender.
The theory,
right?
I'm a very pansexual Deathstroke.
Oh, right.
Sure. Deathstroke. We're looking at you, bud. Though I did love he was kind of like, but I'm not a furry though. Like, to be clear.
They're like, no matter what, we would fuck this hyena. And I was like, okay.
I kind of want a like psychotic buddy cop story of Black Mask and Deathstroke now.
And I mean, let us not forget Captain Boomerang's fabulous look.
Oh my gosh. I loved it. Oh my gosh. That is, see, for me, growing up reading the comics that I was growing up reading, I forget that Captain Boomerang was a character that wasn't scary. because he straight up murks Tim's parents in like more recent ones.
Right.
So going back to this one, I'm like, oh yeah, he's kind of a lovable idiot back then.
Mid-century flight attendant.
Right? With Boomerang like pajamas. It's amazing. And he has like a Boomerang arsenal strapped across him like bullets.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, we forgot about Mr. Freeze. He's also in this.
Yes, he is.
Does he actually do anything, or is he just there?
No, he's just there.
He gets to be sassy along with the Black Mask, which I enjoyed.
Right.
That was one of my favorite bits.
That was fun.
Just being sassy at each other.
There's a lot of sass in this one.
Amazo is also in this. Well, there's a lot of villains in this.
There's a lot of good villains in this one.
There's a lot of good villains in this. I did love because they fight Amazo right after Nightwing is like trying to have a conversation and Bruce is being emotionally constipated. So he's like mad he's there, but as soon as Amazo shows up, he's like, I will protect you. Let me throw myself in front of Dick. So he like gets to be a good father for half a second.
Well, go ahead.
It strikes me as well that all of the villains are much more emotionally healthy than Bruce in this too.
Right? Black Mask knows what he wants.
He does.
He's like not at all. I love so much that he has this like, this is the way the world works, and he gets so offended when it messes up. When he realizes that Bruce Wayne has let Red Hood run havoc on Gotham, he's like, excuse me? Like, I know I'm a villain, but Bruce, how could you do this to me?
Audacity.
You have rules for a reason. We live in a society.
On a fun note, the flashbacks with Alfred and just talking about them collecting books. Oh my gosh.
Did you tear up? Because I teared up.
It was so
really
sweet.
Cute. It was really cute. There's a lot of Alfred gets to narrate a whole portion of this, and it is wonderful. I want him to narrate every Batman story, just ever. Because you get that mix of his like loving this kid and also being sassy and annoyed at him. Which I love so much. Everyone is on their sass game in this.
I found it. I found the graveyard switch.
Okay.
Was it in the annual?
Yeah, it's in the
I
annual.
thought so.
Daedalus and Icarus, the return of Jason Todd.
Okay.
So yeah, he jumps the gravestone, and so first it's Jason, then he switches with Clayface.
Okay.
Right.
So was Jason dressed as Hush?
Yes.
What the fuck? That is too many spaded switches.
So Jason heard that Hush was fucking with Batman,
which is fun. We love that.
And offered to help. So he dressed as Hush in the graveyard, fought with Batman, jumped the gravestone, switched with Clayface, and then left for a while. Saw the Joker dressing as Red Hood, because that was where he got that from.
Yes.
And then came back.
Yes.
Yeah.
All perfectly clear. I've never felt more betrayed by like a random bait and switch than the Hush movie when we watched.
Oh my god.
That movie's so confusing.
It was bad.
The book is confusing too.
Yet it's not as bad as the movie.
Yeah. I guess Jeff Loeb was like, let me toy with this idea and leave the door open. And then
they just let Jeff Loeb do whatever he wants.
DC was like, oh, people seemed interested in this. Let's retcon the shit out of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
100%. I really liked, we were talking about the Superman conversation. I do really like the moment between him and Bruce where he's like, Bruce, what's up? You seem to be having more emotions than usual. And Bruce is just like, I want science. I just want science to science, and science will not science. And I'm sad about it. I love it so much.
I really liked the Jason and Joker scene near the end, where it was just them like verbally going at each other.
Yes. Tied Up and Quippy is the best version of Joker, where he like can talk but he can't do anything else. That's fine with me.
Yeah. And a lot of that dialogue was just straight up lifted to the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too that Jason won't kill him. He wants Bruce to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, Jason could have killed him
He really
100 times by the time Bruce gets there.
Yeah, even Joker's like, the fuck am I still alive?
Right. He's so intent on Bruce doing it, on Bruce proving that Jason means that much to him.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only emotion that Jason has at that point.
It's like a knife to the heart, that scene where he's like, you have to kill me or kill him.
Right. It's sad.
It's so emotional. Like, it is intense. And then he like thinks he has gotten away by just like being the Joker calls him like a goth marksman, which is maybe my favorite thing. Because he manages to hit Jason in just such a way that he won't die of it. The shoulder wound thing, which, side note, this book really tries to sell the fact that you probably won't die of bleeding out of a shoulder wound that I'm not convinced is true.
No, there's a big artery there. I was a nurse for 15 years.
Oh, so that's why Onyx didn't come back.
If you hit the brachial artery, like if you miss and hit the brachial artery.
Yeah. I think this book might be leading us a bit astray about how safe shoulder wounds are.
That close up on Jason's eye and he's crying.
Yes.
Like, it was
heartbreaking.
Like that moment where I was like, you know what? This is just a kid who was fucked up and he has help.
Yes, we need to talk about this because there is like a central premise, this idea that Jason was always too messed up to be Robin, like he was always gonna cross the line. That keeps coming up, and I'm like, okay, but Bruce, like, who was raising him? Like,
right.
Well, this feels like your fault.
Right. People. So, okay. I used to help teach Kung Fu to 4-year-olds.
Oh, you are brave.
Right. And people were like, aren't they too young to stand still? Aren't they too young to learn the protocol? Most of them are not, right? People rise to your expectations.
Yeah.
And so Jason rose to Bruce's expectations. If Bruce had expected more of him, then he would have been somebody else.
Yeah, it's interesting, and maybe,
but Bruce expected him to be to be a killer,
to be violent and angry,
to be violent and be a killer.
It's interesting to me because, I mean, and I guess in story world, right, like he has much more years of experience, has a few other kids in there, but by the time he gets to Damien, who is explicitly raised to be a killer, he has a bit of a better understanding about how to raise a kid that is angry and not, you know, just assume they're gonna fuck up. But with Jason, he was always, it seemed like, at least from this retcon of the story, I don't know about the original version, but in the way that this one was written, he always was like on edge waiting for Jason to fuck up.
Okay, but this is where Dick gets his savior complex from.
Yeah.
Bruce thinks he's gonna save Jason.
Yeah.
Jason doesn't need to be saved. Jason needs to be guided.
He needs parenting, Bruce.
And that there's a difference between saving someone and guiding someone.
Absolutely.
And don't forget about Cassandra Cain. She was also.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
He gets so much better at this. I mean, if we're going with the current,
relatively, on a scale of
Bruce Wayne parenting, he gets better at this. I'm not saying
right.
He's not getting the best dad mug, okay?
Right.
But
so if you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Jason is Bruce's big mistake.
Yeah.
And that's why they have this weird codependent thing. Well, Bruce does. I don't think Jason does.
I think he does. He's a little still obsessed with Bruce too. Like he can't totally. I mean, if we look from
you're right.
This story on, even in Red Hood and the Outlaws, like he might go to space, but he always comes back to Gotham.
Fair.
And I mean, he would probably be like, it's the city, but really, is it Jason? Is it? He's also a little obsessed, like this. We don't really get to see it in this, but he's a little obsessed with Tim and, you know, his replacement.
True.
And eventually that becomes a more positive relationship, though at first not so positive.
Right. True. That's true. But, you know, the question of why Bruce tolerates this killer.
Yes.
In his family, when that is his line.
Yes.
is because he knows Jason is his big mistake.
Yeah.
Jason is what he did wrong.
Yeah.
After, I mean, look, despite Dick's issues, Dick is a good person.
He is.
Dick doesn't kill people. You know, generally speaking, he's a decent guy. He's, you know, nice to old ladies and puppies and any women issues he has. It's not like he's violent. He's not an abuser.
Right.
Jason, what's good about Jason is what Jason made good about himself.
I agree. Yeah.
Not what Bruce taught him. Yeah. What is bad about Jason is what Bruce taught him.
Yeah.
That's just such a real, like, parent-child thing of, like, when you have multiple children and, like, when you fuck up, like, you give that kid, like, leeway and, like, I feel like I'm adding nothing to the conversation.
No, I get what you're saying.
I love that you brought that up because I've seen that before, like, in real life. And
I think it's interesting too, because now I'm not sure, because I also read the like additional issues that were after in the volumes. I'm not sure where the story ends and where that part begins, but there's a conversation that Tim is actually having with Catwoman about Jason in one of which is really interesting and telling, because Tim is always he's like a student of that family, right? Like he wants to know everything about their dynamics. And he is like, everything that I am in this family is in reaction to messing up with Jason. Like every skill I've learned is so I won't die like he did. Every like lesson I'm taught is so I won't be like him, which is just like, if we're thinking about the fucked up family dynamics, which I love to do, we have, you know, Dick is seen as the perfect kid. He's not, but that is a huge amount of pressure, right? Like he is supposed to be the golden child. And then Jason can never measure up and then doesn't because he's not expected to. And then we have Tim, who is then like, okay, now you have to be better than both of them because you're coming after both of them. And then Damien gets away with everything because he's the youngest.
Well, he's just vibing. He's also the genetic child.
I know, that's kind of awkward, right? Like, Bruce, come on, bud, you can't.
And let's not talk about, you know, how that happened. let's not bring that up. right. But also, the other interesting thing about Tim is that when Tim starts hanging with Bruce, he has parents.
Yes, yeah, that losing those came later.
They're not great parents, but he does have his own parents still.
Right. Yeah, he's like violently neglected, and that's how he figures out who Bruce is. He spends all his time wandering the streets alone.
But Bruce can always call, like, okay, but you have your own parents, so you're not really my responsibility.
Right.
On Tim. He couldn't do that with Dick or Jason.
It's true. But then we're just like, let's get into the psyche here. It then gets into poor Tim being like, I'm not really part of the family, and having that kind of fucked upness, which is fun.
But that's Tim's problem. That's not Bruce's problem.
I think it's a little Bruce's.
No. I mean, in Bruce's mind.
Right. Yeah. Like, I was like, it's a little Bruce's problem.
No, but it's definitely Bruce's problem. But in Bruce's mind, it's Tim's problem.
Yes, it's also Dick's problem. And
it's definitely Dick's problem.
I love Dick. I love him. But he absolutely replaces Tim with Damien and doesn't talk to him about it. And even if we're retconning that, I will never forget.
Right. Of course.
TJ, do you love how...
and Jason is shitty to Tim too, but Jason is also shitty to Damien.
Yes, but he gets better. Depending on the writer. One of my favorite Jason scenes ever is from Red Hood and the Outlaws, and you find out that after, like, post Tim and him trying to kill each other, like, they've gotten past that, and they have breakfast together a lot. Like, there's this really cute scene where it's just referenced that they do this all the time, and Jason's like, why do you keep showing up after I tried to kill you? And he's like, we're the black sheep of the family. It's you and me, bud. Like, we're together in this. And it's so cute.
And I mean, who in the Bat family has not tried to kill each other?
I know.
At least once.
If we're gonna like compare notes. TJ, do you love how there was literally one scene of Tim and I managed to talk about it for this long?
I expect it by now.
It's fair.
I feel like the emotional stakes were pretty high at the ending, so I
Yeah.
was a little thrown off when the bomb literally drops on Bloodhaven.
Poor Bloodhaven. I mean, presumably, again, I don't know the timeline of this. I'm assuming that's something happening in Nightwing's title, probably.
Right. I would guess.
But it did feel kind of like, well, fuck.
Yeah, like, okay. It was just a lot to add in last second and then add nothing.
Yeah.
Somebody posted on Twitter the other day, okay, but would you move to Gotham? And I was like, only if the only other place I could live was Bloodhaven.
Right.
Why would anyone move to somewhere named Bloodhaven?
Right. There's
with an umlaut.
I love it so much. There is a line in this where Jason is like, no, none of you villains, heroes, none of you understand Gotham. Gotham has to be razed to the ground and start over, or it's not going to get better. And I'm like, is he wrong though? Like, I'm not sure it's fixable at this point. At this point, if we go forward in continuity, we know that it's half run by owls at this point. Like,
but like, how else would you end this story? Like,
yeah.
I can't really think of another way. Like, how would you wrap this up?
I don't know. I like the building blowing up.
Yeah.
I kind of think it's fitting.
Yeah. I think it makes sense.
Because like their story is going to be ongoing and
Yeah.
it is ongoing. So like just having it, like if you were to just pick up this volume,
Yeah.
like you could just, if you knew nothing, you could just be like, oh, did they die? Did they not? And I kind of like that. I
just circle around again, feeling like I keep coming to be on Jason's side most of the time.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I do love, right. I do love that he gets less violent. Like, I love that journey for him. But he's kind of like the Krampus for people who hurt children.
I can't be mad about that.
I told TJ I'd written down the dumbest joke earlier, and it was that one.
In which I gave you a delayed laugh.
I know.
I mean, I have to be honest, I have 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And like, if something happened to them, that's probably the only thing in the world that would make me like randomly violent.
We still think you're a vigilante already, but okay.
Yeah.
Also, before we totally wrap up, so that ending part again, that's like added onto the volume that shows him basically crawling out of the grave zombie style.
Oh, that was good.
It was so good and so wild. It has a couple of details that I feel like we can't not mention. The first being, apparently Bruce Wayne has sensors on all dead family members' graves.
I mean, can you blame him?
I can't. I mean, obviously it was necessary and he should have done more.
They're like, the sensors didn't go off because nothing was breaking in. It was breaking out. And I'm like, bullshit.
I know. What kind of fucked up sensor?
Right. They would still go off.
If I accidentally locked myself in my car and tried to open it, my thing would still go off. Like, that's
this
not
billionaire.
He's honestly, we were joking in a past episode about there's a panel, I think it's RIP Batman, where he's like, I'm always prepared for everything. I read that scene with Jason and I was like, were you prepared?
Clearly
for
not
everything, Bruce? The other thing is that there is a random goon in an alley that recognizes Jason because he moves like Jason.
Oh,
and I was losing my shit over the fact that this random goon is a better detective than most villains in Gotham. He's like, wait, I've seen that very specific backflip before.
Yeah, like, and it was specifically Jason. Like,
it was.
I could understand being like, oh, he moves like a Robin.
No, but he was like that Robin.
I would get people recognizing Dick, right? Because Dick was an acrobat.
Right.
But
yeah.
Jason?
I know. It's really funny to me. It's almost like, you referenced Panda Red earlier. It's almost like that joke that he makes. Like, if you were beat up by a kid, you would probably remember that kid forever too.
Right?
Oh, fair. Well, what would you guys rate this book? 1 out of 5 batarangs.
5 batarangs. This is my favorite book we've read.
Really?
I know. I did not think it would surpass Court of Owls, but it sure did. I loved this. I laughed so hard. I cried many times, and I wanted to hug Jason and protect him from the world.
I would say 4.5, only because the art isn't my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Yeah. We never talked about the art, which is a pretty good sign that it's not the greatest.
Yeah, some of the issues back and forth, I definitely preferred one style to another.
Yeah. There was a couple of cool moments of Batman's cape that I liked, but it was, it didn't stand out.
I would give this one 4 stars. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was so fun. The dialogue was great.
Yes.
A little bit 2000s in the dialogue, like with some phrases and references that I don't know if they could get away with nowadays, but like I didn't find it distasteful though. I found it charming.
Yes.
So yeah, and just everything you guys have said, I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
But like we said, like I could definitely trim off some of the subplots. So I think the movie is like the ideal version of this, but I love both in different ways.
Yeah. So TJ, is Jason your favorite now that we've read a Jason one? Is the trend continuing?
You know, when I finished this book, I asked myself that same question and I was like, no, he's not, which is why I'm reading the Lost Days volume because I want him to be my favorite.
Oh, well, we need to read Red Hood and the Outlaws. That's where he goes and has fun with his boyfriend Roy and his girlfriend Starfire. And on that note, we ask all of our guests a very specific question. Shuri, if you were allowed to tell any Bat Family story you wanted, DC editorial is tied up in a closet and they can't stop you, what are you writing?
Ooh. You know what?
Is it have Jason in it?
Yeah, I think I'm writing that Jason, Roy, John Constantine story.
Ooh, should have guessed.
Yes, I love it so much.
Traveling the multiverse, having sex with each other and everyone else.
Yes, I was just thinking of the long shot fights the Marvel or saves the Marvel universe. I feel like yours should be called like Jason Todd fucks the DC universe.
Jason Todd fucks the DC universe. I would definitely write that.
I would read it.
I would read it too. So what's that AO3 tag? Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us, Shuri.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah,
so much fun.
Where can our listeners find you on social media? On
Twitter, I am what am I? That's a good question. At SW Sondheimer, SONDHEIMER.
Do you have any current projects or anything people should look out for?
I have 2 essays in the Blackwell's pop culture and philosophy series. I have 2 essays in the Expanse and psychology.
Ooh. Thank you so much for coming on and talking us about Jason Todd's thighs and other things.
Yay.
And welcome back to another edition of Ask Alex, where we have our very own The Question answer our questions. Alex!
Yay. Goodness gracious, I've been bamboozled.
Hopefully our questions won't bamboozle you too badly.
Oh, you can try. But I'm here to elucidate. I'm here to illuminate. I'm here to lift the fog from your eyes. Hit me with your best shot.
And we need it because our first question is very simply, who the hell is Onyx?
Okay. There's a very good reason you don't know who Onyx is. The character who Red Hood shows up to kind of mess with in the middle of the story arc. And the reason you don't know who Onyx is because she's not a Batman character. She is a Green Arrow character.
There we go.
In the mid-'80s, Green Arrow did not have his own comic book series. Believe it or not, Green Arrow didn't get his own ongoing until 1988. He was usually in other anthology series, and for a long time, he had a backup feature in Detective Comics. At the time, in the mid-'80s, we get introduced to Onyx, who is a former member of the League of Assassins, who spent some time in the ashram where Oliver Queen went to his penance after he accidentally killed somebody, as famously shown in Denny O'Neil's Green Lantern and Green Arrow comics. I'm not sure if you've gotten to the hard traveling heroes of the Bronze Age era yet. You know, the whole my ward is a junkie period.
Nope.
You're familiar though, right?
Vaguely.
Passing.
Green Arrow. My familiarity with Green Arrow stops and ends at the CW Arrowverse. So
That's fair. Well, during the 70s and 80s, Ollie was going through a lot of personal drama.
Seems right.
One of which was that he joined an ashram as penance after he accidentally killed a guy. One of the people there, as we would find out later, would be his own son, Connor Hawke, but we didn't find that out till the 90s. And another person there was this Onyx Adams character who came out of her own self-imposed exile in this 80s run of Detective Comics to find Oliver and tell him, hey, remember our old master? This dude Lars showed up and killed him. And now he's making moves to take over the whole organization. So she and Green Arrow deal with Lars a couple times, and then Onyx fades back into the background. Cut to a series that happened in about 2002. There was a story arc called Batman War Games. Have you made it to that yet?
I've read War Games. TJ
You've
has
read
not.
War Games.
I have not.
All right. Well, War Games 2002. In the early 2000s, there is this character named Orpheus, Gavin King, who is introduced into the environs of the Batman universe as kind of the first established black superhero in Gotham City. I mean, there was Black Spider, Eric Needham before him, but he was kind of more of a Punisher anti-hero figure. But the first legit hero would be in Gotham, black hero in Gotham would be Gavin King. And he was established in this Batman Orpheus miniseries, which is kind of hard to find now. And War Games was looking to shake up the status quo of Batman, as you do with these big events. And what that means, as far as editorial was concerned at the time, was you got to kill a bunch of characters off. And Gavin King was on the chopping block. Unfortunately, it's a bad look to kill off your only black character. So what Gabrich, who was writing Detective Comics at the time, did was he brought Onyx out of obscurity before Orpheus's death, as kind of like Batman's like, hey, I know who could help out Orpheus. Who's another black superhero I know?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, God.
So Orpheus gets killed off, and supposedly Onyx steps in to take his place after he dies to run to protect the Hill, which is the neighborhood that Orpheus patrolled at the time. Some interesting stuff happens with Onyx afterwards, like for instance in Batgirl, she is able to like actually keep up with Cassandra Cain and help her train, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of people can do that. And the reason we see Onyx in Under the Hood is after the events of Batman War Games, where Batman has kind of breached Oracle's trust and gotten Stephanie Brown killed. The entire family is pissed off at Batman, and they all kind of leave Gotham because they don't want to deal with him. Onyx, however, is not really part of the Bat family. So when Judd Winick needed Red Hood to mess with the hero in Gotham who wasn't Batman, he was like going down the list, and like Onyx was the only person on the scene who was like still there who Red could deal with. So that's kind of why she's here, because every other hero was out of Gotham City at the time.
That sounds about right.
After this, she kind of disappears into obscurity again. She shows up in a weird Outsiders arc during Jeff Lemire's run in the New 52 Green Arrow, but she hasn't really been seen since.
Is she the character in the new Young Justice season?
Yes, that is Onyx. They brought her back. They needed someone who ran away from the League of Assassins, and Onyx Adams fit the bill. And honestly, she's used there kind of better than she has been in a very long time. But that's kind of Greg Weisman and Brandon Vietti's specialty when it comes to Young Justice, taking these characters and remixing them for a more cohesive world.
So our next question for you, something me and Chris were both curious about was, since we weren't reading comics at the time when this arc happened, did readers know ahead of time that this was going to be Jason Todd? Or was it like when the reveal happened, was everyone like shook? Like, because I know a lot of times like things will get spoiled in the like previews of comics and stuff like that. What was the case here?
All right. First of all, I need to correct something I said previously. War Games was 2003, not 2002. The 2000.
How dare you?
Yeah. The 2002 arc I was thinking of was Batman Hush, which is what I'm going to have to take you back to right now. In Batman Hush, which I'm sure you've read by now.
Oh, yeah. I love Hush.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Batman Hush, there was this year-long mystery of who this Hush character was going to be. They killed off the guy it was halfway through to throw you off the scent. And near the climax, there was this scene where it looked like Jason Todd was back from the dead. And it had been Jason all along manipulating all these events. If you can remember that scene with Jason at the cemetery, Batman gets in a big fight with him. It's revealed to have been Clayface the whole time. But there is this one panel, this one sequence at the very end where they look at Jason's grave and Jason's body is missing. And that's supposed to be a big cliffhanger because, well, what happened to Jason? Judd Winick read this arc and was like, honestly, Hush should have been Jason. That would have been a good arc. And that was the inspiration for Under the Hood in the first place. Now that the idea that something had happened to Jason's body had been set up, by the time Under the Hood started, everyone was already thinking Jason Todd, like, oh, this shoe's got to drop. So it wasn't really a surprise to anybody, but it was interesting to see how it played out. And that's just because of all of the mad theorizing that was going on through that year of Batman Hush. Everybody's gears were already primed for a new mystery. And, pretty early on, we see part of Jason's face, and it looks like the face of Jason as he appeared in Hush. And he eventually tells the story about how he was on the scene at the cemetery and swapped out for Clayface in the middle of the fight. And yeah, it was basically all telegraphed from the beginning. It wasn't really a big mystery.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
Like, so it wasn't ruined ahead of time, but
it wasn't
already
it wasn't who is the Red Hood. It's here's what happened to Jason after we left that mystery dangling in Hush. So yeah, this story is kind of, it doesn't exist in isolation. It's a sequel to both Hush and War Games, in the way that at the end of War Games, you may recall, Black Mask takes over the entire city. Yeah. And the backdrop is Under the Hood is Jason Todd dealing with that. So Under the Hood really isn't a comic that exists in isolation. It is a kind of a sequel and a commentary to these big arcs that happened before it.
Nice. Alex, I have to ask, how did you feel about Black Mask in this book? Because me and Chris both loved him.
I love Black Mask. Black Mask is one of my favorite Batman villains, and a big part of that is because of this arc. It's because he's such a bastard. He's such he's so ingrained in not necessarily the goofy, gimmicky bullshit. He really is dedicated to being a crime lord. And he's real mean about it. And it's very easy to get him angry. And that makes for some really good Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd dynamic, which is kind of what you get with him in Red Hood.
Yeah, I love him. It's a very good villain.
Oh, he's great.
So Dick's safety is brought up at the end of the book. Was this tying into an event or something?
Oh, it absolutely was. Once again, you got to look at what's going on around it. This is a reference to Infinite Crisis, which was happening around the same time as Under the Hood. Infinite Crisis, you may recall, the radioactive villain Chemo gets dropped out of a plane onto Bloodhaven, Nightwing City. And the question is Nightwing there? Is he okay? Did I drive Nightwing out of the city with my War Games shenanigans only to get him killed in all this? A lot of the questions around Under the Hood that you're asking me right now have to do with the fact that this story is such an enduring seminal work of modern Batman, and yet it exists very clearly in a space of 2004, 2005, which is kind of why it's in this rare position where Judd Winick was able to rewrite the story himself in the animated adaptation, which is not something you see a lot. And he was able to clarify it for a greater purpose of longevity and preservation by removing those weird canonical trappings at the time and allowing it to kind of exist as its own story. And all of the questions you asked me here about Onyx, about Nightwing, about everything else. It's not part of the movie because it's distracting to what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really the difference between reading a comic monthly and picking up a story by itself.
Yeah, the movie is so good. I think I prefer it to the book.
I would say it's one of the very, very few comic adaptations which surpasses the source material.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's so interesting. I kind of want to go back and reread all the stuff around this one then, knowing all of that.
Yeah. While reading this one, I was like, who is the blonde girl that's dead?
Oh,
is it?
no.
And now, as of recording this, I have a little bit more perspective. And I'm like, oh, that's probably Stephanie Brown, huh?
Yeah. You're like, oh, that's Tim's beard.
Right, exactly.
We remember her. They broke up off screen.
Yeah, she'll come back just to get dumped off panel.
Yeah.
Oh, so glad she came back to life for that honor.
Terrific.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time once again.
Anytime.
Yes, it was a blast.
And until next time,
you're always free to ask the question.
Join us next time where we'll be reading
Batman Year One by Frank Miller.
My favorite.
And David Mazzucchelli. Yeah, Frank Miller, Chris's favorite.
Love Frank Miller. And we will be discussing it with Alex Segura, Senior Vice President of Oni Press Sales and Marketing and the author of the new book, Secret Identity.
Yes, and we can't forget Poe Dameron, Free Fall. That was a fun ride.
Absolutely. We're excited to talk to Alex, and I guess I am going to pretend to be excited to read Frank Miller.
Alex will make up for it.
Alex will make up for it.
2 Alexes next time around.
Yes, we'll have Ask Alex and Alex Segura. Fun times.
Double the Alex.
Double the Alex and too much Frank Miller. See you then. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk feminism, queerness, psychology, books, and oftentimes Batman. You can also now find me at talkingcomics.com, where I write reviews and a column and sometimes the news about comics. You'd also find my co-host TJ
at TroyFin2 on Twitter, where I talk about all things book related and Batman more often than I used to.
And you can find us both on Twitter at Gotham Outsiders, where we talk about Batman all the time. Join us next time. Same bat time, same bat place.